Well, good morning, everybody. Here we are on Thursday after a great prayer meeting last night. It's just love getting together with you guys. It's always encouraging, always uplifting. That's what it's like when we get to hang out with the people that we love. So we're reading through Haggai this morning, and Haggai was one of the two prophets that encouraged Zerubbabel to continue in the building of the temple, even though their enemies had succeeded in getting the king to stop it, the king of Babylon. And so today we're reading about Haggai, and tomorrow it's Zechariah. Well, actually, Zechariah had more to say than Haggai. Haggai had 2 chapters. Zechariah is going to take us a few days to read through. But as we look at this with Haggai, we got to keep in mind that he turned around and the Lord's speaking through him, and the Lord is saying, you guys, you're living in your paneled walls, and you're not taking care of this temple, which represented more than just a building. It represented the presence of God among his people. It can't house God, obviously. He referred to it as his footstool. The earth is his footstool. So, but it's important because it symbolizes his presence with his people. And so he's saying that, you guys, come on. Even though the king had told them to stop, because it wasn't really the king's idea, it was their enemy, the governors around them, that had incited the king against them. And God is saying through Haggai, I've got you. You do this, and the nations are going to quake, and it will be financed by the nations as well. And so the people had to decide what was more important to them, the king or God. Who are they going to listen to? Because these are opposing. And it's not a lot that we see this happening, but in this case we see this happening. And so the people decided they would listen to the prophets, and that they would continue building. And we know from reading yesterday, their enemies got really upset at them, wrote to the king and said, are you aware that this is happening? And they say that they were given permission. Can you check the archives and see if there was permission? And that's when Darius discovered that they had permission, and turned around and told those governors who are the enemy, you not only are you to allow them, but you're to assist them, and you're to finance it. And this is sometimes the prophecies don't turn out the exact way we think they're going to, but the end result is still, it's God told, and maybe in our imagination we saw it working out differently. But this is where he shook the nations. He shook the nations, and money came pouring in to complete the temple. And it's amazing stuff. So in our lives, this is the point that we keep going over again and again. In our lives, we have to decide, who do we trust, and who do we obey? Do we trust the Lord, or do we trust the systems of this world? Do we trust when God tells us to do it one way, and the world system, let's say that the what we grew up with, what we're used to, says no, you're crazy, do it this way. What do we listen to? Do we trust the Lord even when it looks like he's totally out to lunch, and that's never going to happen, and there's a better way of doing it, where we start thinking for ourselves, and we fail to remember that his thoughts are so far above our thoughts. He knows far more than we could ever know. And so who are we going to trust? Who are we going to trust? That's what it comes down to. And this isn't about citing rebellion against the government, because Jesus told us that we need to honor, and told us to give to Caesar's what is Caesar's and to God what is God's. So it's not a matter of saying, well, I'm not going to pay my taxes. That's not what God has said at all. But there are things that Daniel showed us that when they came out with the ridiculous thing that for 30 days you could only pray to the king, and Daniel just continued doing what he was doing, and he paid a price for it, but we saw what resulted from that as well. And so those are the sort of things that we have to realize that we're called into when Jesus tells us to say no to ourselves, take up our cross, and follow him. It's not always going to be the easiest decisions that we make when we walk in obedience, but we've been called to walk in obedience. So I just want to encourage you today, know the Father's heart, know what he values, know what's important to him, do those things. Do those things. Don't go by word of mouth. Check it out for yourself. Study the word. Pray, listen to the Holy Spirit, and don't be afraid to live differently. You guys have a fantastic day. The Lord bless you. Be engaged with people. I'm looking forward to the testimonies that are coming. God bless.